Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are windrowing. Windrowing. I have a problem saying that. I have a problem saying a lot of things apparently. This is the job that we do after we get rid of birds and we get everything picked up. What we're doing is basically we're quickly composting litter in the house. What we want to see is the litter get up to about 130 degrees on the inside and sit for 3 or 4 days. What that does is it kills bacteria. It does kill some good bacteria, but it kills more bad bacteria is what I've been told. And also it kills darkling beetles. And what that is a little black bug that comes in the feed. It actually comes from the corn in the feed. The problem with them is they do eat feed. They're not out of hand here. They hadn't been out of hand for several years, but not too long ago you could stand in one spot in the house and look at the floor and you'd see the litter crawling, just bugs. So they've got a lot of that under control, but we help them with windrowing. This is a Creekview Predator 78. It's a 6.5 foot windrower. This is what you would call a windrowing machine. It is nasty. I've already done 4 houses, so it's pretty nasty. But I'm gonna give you an idea of what the machine is. It's run off the PTO of the tractor. It's a 3-point hitch. Runs from the PTO. The PTO runs into this gearbox. And this gearbox actually turns 2 augers. You have an auger here and an auger on this side. The gearbox turns these augers. The auger, if you look down right there, there's a box. Right there. The box on the side. I've never actually had it open, but I'm pretty sure what that is a roller chain that connects the auger with the paddle in the bottom. This is the paddle down here. What this does is this breaks up the cake litter that's on top of the floor. Breaks it up to where it can dry out better. The paddle is canted this way so it moves litter across, and it also pulls litter up into the auger on top, which is also canted this way. It moves litter across. Everything exits out this side. And that side over there, you've got a plate there that is supposed to go right up against the wall and pull litter off the wall into the machine. So you'll get a better idea of what I'm talking about when you see it actually run. But all it is, it's very similar to a tiller on the back of a tractor. It's very similar. PTO runs, turns the bottom bar that has the paddles on it that breaks the litter apart, and also turns the top bar, which has the auger, and moves everything to the side. We're building a windrow. If you've ever seen anybody rake hay, talk about raking hay, they're making a windrow, and that's what we're doing with chicken litter. And number one, we want the litter to heat up to kill the bacteria and kill the bugs. What we also want it to do is dry, and we want the floor to dry where the litter was. So we're trying to get down to the dirt. Can't get all the way down to the dirt every time, but we get as close as we can. The drier you get the dirt, the drier the floor stays. This is like I said, this is a Creekview Predator 78. They also make a 108, which is 9 feet. This one's 6.5. The only real issue I've seen with it is right here. Everything is so close in on the tractor that it's kind of hard to get in here and work. If you had this frame a little longer where the machine itself was set a little further back, make it easier to get in to hook up. I understand why they don't. It's a weight issue. This thing weighs, I think it's 2,300 pounds. And if you slide that back 6 inches, you're gonna come real close to picking the front of the tractor up. It's very, very easy to do. And the only problem we've had with it, we've run it for 3 years. We run it 6 flocks a year for 3 years, roughly. The only problem we've had is we broke a shear bolt in, I don't remember if it was in the drive shaft or if it was on the other side, one side or the other of the gearbox, but I think it was on the drive shaft. But that's the only problem we've had after 3 years of use. And we use it every time we sell, so 6 times a year for the last 3 years. About 12 hours per use, so you're talking well over 100 hours, closer to 200 hours worth of use. And no real problems. If anybody's looking at one of these, I will say their horsepower recommendation can be a little iffy. This machine, according to Creekview, is light enough and small enough that it can be run with a 45 horse tractor in 4-inch litter. 4-inch litter, I agree, it can be run with a 45 horse tractor. They also recommend a creeper gear, which is basically a half-speed gear on your tractor. You got low gear, and then you've got your creeper gear, which basically cuts your speed in half. So you're feeding the same amount of material in, just slower. It takes less horsepower to run it and pull it out the other side. This tractor is a 70 horse, and we've got probably a 6 to 7 inch litter in most places in these houses. And there's no way, I don't think this tractor could pull a 9-foot model in 6-inch litter. I don't think it could do it. I think you'd wind up having to do 2 passes, which basically negates the whole point of having a wider windrower. You waste the time that you saved. But other than that, it's been a good machine. It really has. So I guess it's time to hop on here and show you how it works. Another thing about weight, I was talking a little while ago about moving the machine back to get a little bit more room in here to work. That would probably be a little bit detrimental to a smaller tractor, just because this thing is very heavy. It's I think it's 2,300 pounds. And this is a 70 horse tractor. If I take the loader frame off of this tractor, then if you start up over a windrow, when you start back down, and you're going over a windrow, when you start up, it takes a minute for the front wheels to come back down because this machine is that heavy. With the loader frame on, it'll come back down just fine. But now, it is a Kubota. Kubotas are light. They've always had the claim of the best fuel economy in the industry. Well, the way they get the good fuel economy is you run a light tractor. If you don't have a heavy tractor, you don't need to use as much fuel to move it. So it's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. Now, again, you have the paddles on the bottom. Paddles is what they call them. You also have the auger on top. Everything is turning this direction, turning toward the tractor, and it moves the material out to the side, and we'll build a pile right here. We're going to go all the way down. We're going to start in that corner, go all the way down to the end of the house, building a pile right under this feed line. And we'll come back up the other wall and do the same thing, and then we'll turn around and we'll come to this side of our pile and roll litter back to it. And that will build our windrows on the side. And then in the middle, we'll roll, and we'll have to roll one more at a time to get it all the way in. These houses are 50 feet wide. I would love to have a 9-foot windrower because of these houses being 50 foot wide. You would probably take out one pass in the middle, which would save you. It takes me about 8 minutes to go from here to the end of the house. So take out one pass, you save 8 minutes times 6 houses. That's 48 minutes. That's almost an hour that a 9-foot model would save us. Can't do it with this tractor, I don't think. Never tried it. I just don't think it would do it because, number one, it's a light tractor. Number two, I think their horsepower ratings are a little wrong. Number three, we don't have a creeper gear.
Well, the horsepower, I don't know if they're stating that it will just pull it or pull it with litter. You know what I mean?
In 4-inch litter, I think they're right.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in 4-inch litter that would work. These houses have 6 to 7, probably in some places have 8 inches of litter. That works better for us. If we were down to 4 inches, what I'm standing on right here is cake. This is what we call cake litter. It's just a hard chunk.
It shows up a lot in the winter time.
Yeah,
definitely.
we get a lot of this. But that's cake litter. And if you had 4 inches in this house, the whole house would probably look like this. It would be saturated to the point that it will not absorb any more moisture. Now, if you turn around and look toward the middle of the house, that is not cake litter. That is very fine, very powdery litter. That's what we want in the whole house. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to have it in the whole house. It's just the way it is.
Winter time, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
hot inside, hot and cold mixed together, you get condensation,
Yep.
moisture build
When
up.
it's cold enough outside and the vents open and you're pulling air in, you can see steam coming in, which is water vapor.
Yeah.
And as soon as that comes to the floor, it starts to cake over eventually. Now we have cake underneath water lines, underneath feed lines. That's normal. That just happens. That's where they spend a lot of their time eating, drinking, and when they eat and drink, they
It's got to come out.
it goes in. It's got to come out. You know, one end to the other. The middle, we have very little to no cake. And the reason why is because when they're in the middle, they're sitting down resting. They're not up eating, not up drinking, not up moving around. Systems are not flowing, basically. So when you do the middle, I'll get extremely nasty. This is a very nasty job. I'll have to stop at least twice in this house to dust the grill off so the tractor can continue to get air. Probably have to wash the radiator out 3 times doing the whole farm at least. But on the sides it's not so bad because cake litter doesn't dust up like dry litter does. But through the middle it's pretty nasty, and it doesn't matter if you're using a blade like a windrower like this or a blade or whatever. When you windrow, you're going to get nasty. That's how it is. It just is. So let me get started. Tell you what, let me crank the tractor and I'll turn the windrower on. We're going to stand to the side. I'll turn the windrower on and show you how it works. Actually, show you one more neat thing about these windrowers that I really like. Some windrowers, you control them with the 3-point hitch alone. That's all you got to move up, down, whatever. If you get too much in there, you pull the 3-point up, it raises up, and you have to leave a little pile there to continue on. This windrower has this back set of wheels. It's not really an axle, but this is run by a hydraulic remote and remote hydraulic. You can lower the wheels and raise the wheels, and it actually raises and lowers the back of the windrower slightly. You can go that far up, I think, but it raises and lowers the windrower to where you can ease along and bump up or bump down. If you're taking a little bit of dirt in your windrower, you don't want to. You can bump the wheels down and just kind of pop the blade up off the ground a little bit and just get the litter. If you're leaving a little bit of litter that you don't want to leave, you can lower it all the way down, put the blade on the ground and take it off. This is a very good feature on this windrower. I really like that. I think they also make a tow hitch to where it attaches to both of the bottom links and the top link, and then you have a tongue come out and pins onto the drawbar so that you actually have a non-tractor bearing windrower, I guess you'd call it, pulled with a drawbar. And I'd kind of like to try that, but I don't know how much they are, and they're probably more than I want to spend. But let me turn this thing on, show you what the windrower looks like when it's running. This is what I'm talking about with the auger running and the paddles running, pushing everything this way. When we set this down into the litter, it's going to break. The paddles will break up the cake litter. I'm going to pull it up on the machine. I actually throw it high enough to get it into the auger on top. It runs out the side. The plate here that's in front of the tire, that's actually moved the windrow over just a little so that it doesn't get into the tire and you tire it right up on the edge. You're actually sitting flat on the ground. If you look right below the paddle, you can see a cutting edge. That cutting edge is replaceable. You can flip it. We have a lot of rocks in this area, and that one's got a ding or two in it, but after 4 years of use and just a ding or two, that's not bad. All right, I'm gonna crank this thing up and we'll see what happens. me explain the last few clips. I kept showing you the left front tire. It's up on the windrow. Here's the reason why. When you're windrowing litter, you need the top to be domed or flat. You don't need it to be a pile this way and a pile this way, and it falls down in the middle. That won't work. It won't heat up. You need it to be as close to connected as you can get it. This is a problem with the 78-inch windrower that I've found. I like to run the windrower centered with the tractor as close as I can get it. What that does is it gives this plate an opportunity to get to the wall without the tire getting to the wall. That's what we need. The problem is with this machine just being 78 inches wide, is when it comes out right behind the tire. So in order to, when you roll one from the wall, roll one windrow from the wall, to roll one back to it and make the top meet like it's supposed to, you have to get up on the side of the windrow. Now, it's not a terrible deal. It's not hard to do. You can do it. The problem is you lose about that much of your width on both sides of the house and one time through the middle. So you're probably losing another 3 to 4 feet by the time you build 3 windrows in a house. It's just a slight aggravation. I really wish this tractor would run the bigger machine. The bigger machine I think I would be a lot happier with, but it just won't do it. We just don't have enough tractor to do it. They also make a skid steer mount machine that I really wish we could run, but according to the people at Creekview, the standard flow machine won't really run it efficiently. You won't be happy with it. They say, I think the literature says you need around 16, 18 gallons a minute. They say you probably need more like 20 to 24 to really run it like it should be, and we just don't have it. And we're not going to go buy a high flow skid steer just to be able to do it. If we had the money, we'd have the equipment, but we don't have the money, so we'll do with what we've got. Now I want to show you one aggravation of windrowing that has nothing to do with the windrower itself. Come this way. This happens about twice a house. It's actually already cleaned off quite a bit. But you see the dust here on the side of the hood. That dust, come around to this side. That side's clean too. It clogs up. You have the grill, then you have these side vents. These things get clogged up with dust and feathers. These are already cleaned off because I parked in the door with the fans running and it's pulling air through here, and I shut the tractor off, so they just kind of fell off. But it also clogs up this radiator screen, which is actually fairly clean already.
Looks like it's snowing.
You see the feathers coming out. That's not much. That is not much at all. We're not having a big problem with overheating right now because right before we started doing this, I washed the radiator out real good. So we're pulling all the air we can through it. That's why we're not having a big problem with overheating at the moment. But at times you do. You have to wash the radiator out probably twice in doing the whole farm. You can dust the sides off, you can dust the grill off, you can dust the screen off in front of the radiator, but eventually you're just going to get enough in the radiator that it's not going to work. You have to wash it out. So, but that's an aggravation. And that goes along with windrowing, whether you're using a machine, a blade, a grinder, or whatever. That's an aggravation that goes along with windrowing. And actually working litter in any capacity, whether it's windrowing, spreading, leveling, decaking, all of it. Just an aggravation. I'm going to finish up this house, and we will talk about the windrows. We'll show you what we're doing, why we're doing, how we're doing. Kind of a this video is probably going to be more of a build the windrow and turn the windrow, and then we'll do another video of spreading and leveling and taking out what we can take out and those kind of things, because if we did it all in one video, it'd be so long that we wouldn't even want to watch it. So let me finish this house up, and we'll be back with you in a little while. talked about the why. Now let's talk about the design and the reasons why. There's several schools of thought on how windrows should be made. Some people say 2 feet wide, or 4 feet wide, 2 feet tall. Some people say 6 feet wide, 3 feet tall. Some people say 3 per house. Some say 2 per house. Some say 1 per house. In our houses, 3 works out pretty good. Pretty good. We like to go as tall as we can. We're approximately 2.5 feet here. We've got, this is a yardstick. You see how much of it's sticking up. Now
it's a broken yardstick.
It's a broken yardstick. This is a 2.5 foot yardstick. There's about 6 inches of litter underneath this that was not disturbed, that the windrow was piled on top of. So it's actually about, this is 2 feet roughly. So it's actually about 2.5 feet to the floor. That's pretty good. It's at least 5 foot wide, if not 6. Right here's one side, the other side over there. The ones on the sides are a little bit smaller. They don't have quite as much litter in them. This pass down the middle is rolled once from each side, and then one of those sides is rolled on top of the other one, so you gain a little litter there. But there are some people that want you to build one windrow in the house, roll all the litter into the middle. I've tried it. I may just be dumb, I don't know, but I couldn't make it happen. It's just too much litter to try to. Yeah, our yardstick broke. The other half of it's down there somewhere. So that's what we're doing. This right here, what we're walking on here, this is called hard pan. And what this is, basically, it's litter that's just stuck to the floor. I would love to get this up. I've tried it with the windrower. I've rolled it back to let the cutting edge kind of curl down and it planes across the top. I've turned it forward to try to make it dig in. I've tried one side up higher, one side lower. Just can't make it happen. Right over here is actually what we really want to see with the windrower. I'm standing on dirt. This is the dirt floor of the chicken house. There is some litter left on it, but you can see when I rake my foot across it, it peels right up. This is a little bit of hard pan, but it's maybe a 1/4 inch thick. That will dry and let everything underneath it dry. As you look down through there, you can see I actually got to pulling more dirt than I did litter. That's where those back wheels I talked about earlier really come into play. You can pull down through there, and as you see, as it gets on down, I started bumping the back up. I bumped it up a little bit at a time, and once you got down to there, I was just above the dirt. It gets darker, and it leaves a film of litter. It's thinner than this. This right here is a little thicker than what that is. But you can see the dirt through it, but you're not actually taking the dirt off. That's what I want to see. Some people say take a smidgen of dirt with it, but if you do that over the next 10 years, you're going to be pretty deep. So, but that's what we're doing. We're going to stop this one here. I got one more house to windrow, and that'll be all 6. We'll probably put the turning the windrows on this video as well. We have to turn them over, and the reason why you build windrows this way is when you roll the litter in, the litter on the outside of the windrow has the chance to dry, while the litter on the inside of the windrow heats up. Now you let it sit for a few days, and then you take the same machine and turn the windrow. Basically what you're doing is turning the litter inside of the windrow to the outside, and you're putting the litter on the outside of the windrow to the inside, give or take. And that way it takes the litter that's inside of the windrow that heated up and moves it to the outside and gives it a chance to dry. Takes the litter on the outside that dried and moves it to the inside of the windrow to give it a chance to heat up. So you're trying to get the best of both worlds for all of your litter. But we'll get that on this video as well. And then the rest of it we'll probably make a different one. But I think Danielle's about to freeze, so I'm gonna take her to the house and get her some lunch, and we'll see you later. Action. Today we are turning windrows. What I mean by turning windrows is we're going to take the windrower, go across this pile or go down the length of this pile and turn it over. Now, we don't have enough horsepower and we have too much speed to turn the whole thing at one time. So what I'll actually do is somewhat straddle the windrow, be more to one side, and take off about 2/3 of it, and then come back for a second pass and clean it up off the floor. The reason why we do this is a couple of reasons. Number one, you take the hot material that's inside, lights just flickered, take the hot material that's inside and roll it to the outside so that it can dry, and you take the dry material on the outside and roll it to the inside so that it can heat up. That's the general idea behind it. You also go through and grind the cake again, so you get a nice fine powdery style of litter. I'm just going to turn the two sides. I'm not going to worry with the middle. The reason why is because the middle is dry litter on top of dry litter. There's nothing there to really dry. So the middle at this point is kind of a waste of time. It's dry as it's going to get. I mean, we don't need to dry it anymore. So we're going to turn these. We've always had problems with these windrows heating up. They say it's because the litter's too dry, and it's because the windrow's not big enough, and it's because it's cold outside, and it's because of who knows what. My opinion, number one, we don't have the windrows big enough, but we're doing the best we can with what we have. The time that it would take to push all this into one windrow, we don't have time. We just don't have time. So.
Oh, I think the windrows do what they're supposed to do because number one, we never have a lot of ammonia in here, even without the stuff that they put down. We use A7, but we never have a lot of ammonia. And number two, knock on wood, we never have any diseases that have carried over or infections or bacteria from other flocks on our farm.
And that's another thing to pay attention to is we're turning these windrows over. Pay attention to the white smoke that comes out. What that is, part of that is the heat. A big part of that is the ammonia that's been burnt out of the litter by the heat. And now that I've said that, it probably some houses it really does it. The houses that were more wet, that the litter was more damp, they really do it. This one may not. It was fairly dry. But pay attention as we turn it, you'll see it come out. It's kind of neat to see.
That's what the ammonia is, though, is like the moisture and the waste from the birds.
Yeah.
So
that's where the ammonia is in the urine.
Yeah.
I don't know if birds actually urinate or
they don't have two separate things. It's
yeah,
just
it all
one...
comes out together.
Yeah.
I don't know if the wet part's urine and the dry part's poop. You mix them together and or what. But anyway, we're going to get started. So pay attention. It's something you've probably never seen before.